the storyteller presents Little Red Riding Hood.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl who always wore a hood made of red velvet. It was a special gift from her grandmother, and wherever she went, everyone would say,
"Look, there goes that pretty Little Red Riding Hood."
and that's what everybody started to call her. She was a very sweet little girl, but she had one problem. She always forgot what people told her to do. Little Red Riding Hood lived with her family in a tiny village. One morning, her mother came to her with a big picnic basket filled with food and cakes.
Little Red Riding Hood, I want you to take this basket to Grandmother because she is ill.
Little Red Riding Hood quickly got ready to leave. But before she went, her mother warned,
Now don't stop for anything. It is not safe to play in the forest.
I promise, Mother.
It was a sparkling summer morning in the forest, and Little Red Riding Hood skipped along her way, humming a happy tune. She had forgotten all about her mother's warning and played along the way. She was not even watching where she was going. And soon she was far away from the path that would take her to Grandmother's house. Suddenly, a big wolf came out of the bushes and stopped right in front of her. Little Red Riding Hood did not know that he was a bad wolf, so she did not feel at all frightened. He seemed very friendly.
Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood. Where are you going?
To my grandmother's. She is sick.
What's in the basket?
Food and cakes to help her get well.
Where does your grandmother live?
About half a mile from here, down that path, by the 3 oak trees.
The wolf told her he knew a way that was much shorter and showed her a path that she had never seen before.
You go that way and you'll be there sooner.
Thank you very much,
she said as she started on her way. The wolf had shown her a way that would take much longer, and this gave him time to reach Grandmother's cottage before Little Red Riding Hood could arrive. She again forgot her mother's warning to go straight to her grandmother's house.
Oh, look at that. A pretty flower. And a prettier one over there.
She ran from one flower to another, and soon she was far away from the path that would take her to Grandmother. She picked buttercups, daisies, and poppies, and was very happy that she had such a lovely bouquet to give to Grandmother. Meanwhile, the bad wolf went right to the grandmother's house and knocked on the door.
Who's there?
Little Red Riding Hood, I've brought you some nice things to eat.
Open the door and come in, dear.
The wolf threw open the door and jumped into the room. But Grandmother quickly ran into the closet and closed the door tight. The wolf became very angry because Grandmother got away from him. He scratched the closet door.
Let me in, old woman! Let me in!
Grandmother kept it locked, and he finally gave up. Then, the wolf disguised himself by putting on one of Grandmother's nightgowns, sleeping caps, and glasses, and climbed into bed to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood was still busy picking flowers when suddenly she remembered her grandmother and set off as fast as she could to her house. She was surprised to find the door open.
Grandmother?
Yes, my dear. Come inside.
There she saw Grandmother lying in bed with the covers pulled up high. She certainly looked strange.
Grandmother, what large ears you have.
The better to hear you with, my dear.
Grandmother, what large eyes you have.
The better to see you, my dear.
Grandmother, what a large nose you have.
The better to smell you with, my dear.
Grandmother, what a large mouth you have.
The better to eat you with, my dear.
With that, the wolf sprang from the bed and swallowed Little Red Riding Hood. Then the wolf became very tired, fell asleep, and started snoring very loudly. A hunter who had been working in the forest happened to walk by and heard the snoring. He went inside and saw the wolf sleeping. His stomach was bulging. He did not see Grandmother.
Are you home, Grandmother?
Grandmother slowly opened the closet door and told him everything that had happened. The hunter took his knife, made a slit in the wolf's stomach, and out popped Little Red Riding Hood. Grandmother was so happy to see her still alive. She took her in her arms and hugged her tightly.
Oh, my child, what a terrible fright you gave us. If you had only listened to your mother, the wolf would never have come here. Don't you ever disobey your mother again.
Meanwhile, the wolf was still sleeping. The hunter filled the wolf's stomach with some rocks and sewed him back up. When the wolf woke up, he was so heavy that he could hardly walk. He dragged himself into the woods and never bothered any little children again. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother were very happy to be safe again. All of them sat down and ate the food and cakes Little Red Riding Hood had brought. When the meal was finished, Grandmother felt and looked much better. The hunter said,
Goodbye, and thank you for the meal.
Thank you, dear hunter, for saving our lives.
Don't worry, Little Red Riding Hood. I will look in on Grandmother each day to make sure she is all right.
They waved him goodbye as he made his way into the forest. Grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood went back inside and had a nice visit together. Before Little Red Riding Hood left to go home, she promised,
I will never wander in the woods again, but will always do everything Mother tells me.
And she kept her promise from that day on.